goes all mine. Trouble, turn 3. Get through that, McQueen.
Oh, a huge crash behind the leader.
Well, that was a boring race, right? Normal Monday afternoon. Don't know what to talk about. Ah, man. Okay, so let's start off with some talking points. There are a lot. Okay, so bear with me. We're gonna start with the first major wreck. Now, there was one incident, because this race did start on a Sunday. There was one incident with Ryan Blaney where he just sped down pit road and spun out, but he was fine. You know, he didn't wreck anything, you know, just went down a lap, got the lap back. He was good, no problem there. But we move on to the next day, which is now today, and we see what happened in the first wreck. So we're gonna go through each wreck, because there are a lot of them. I think is there 3 major ones? Maybe even 4? I don't know. There's a lot. But we're going to go through each wreck. We'll break it down. And then at the end, when we go over the point standings and the race results, we will break down each driver's, finishes, and especially the points guys. And we'll break down the points as well. But let's go to the first wreck with Alex Bowman and Joey Logano.
That goes all mine. Trouble, turn 3. Get through that, McQueen.
Oh, a huge crash behind the leader.
Okay, so as you saw, there's a massive incident in turn 3, and there is reasons as to why this happens. So just a talking point here is, what do you do when you have a run like that? Now, the reason why Bowman is running this hard is because there, I think, are about 4 laps to go in the stage. So you don't want to give up your spots, and Bowman is fighting on the cut line. So him, Logano, Boyer, Blaney, Elliott, Byron, they're all fighting for points. So everything matters here at the end of this stage. Now, when Logano comes to the rear of him, the problem that happened here is the run is too big. You can throw a block. I mean, we saw that throughout the entire race. You could block whenever. But there are certain moments, and I think at the end of the race, there's a certain someone that won that said, the run was too big. That's why I stayed on the bottom. And you have to know when the run is too big, because if the run's too big, sometimes you just have to accept defeat and try to get back. And so that's what Bowman didn't do. So this is a learning experience for him. Logano gets a massive run from behind, pulls low, Bowman blocks, and there's just too much speed difference there. You're not going to lift at that moment. You get, everyone knows the rules. You get one block, everyone knows the rules. One block, all right? One bite, everyone knows the rules. But yeah, you get one block, and if you don't do it right, you're going around. So that's what happened to Bowman. He goes around right in front of his Hendrick teammates, and I was a little bit worried at this point for the race itself, because I was like, well, damn, I think Ford is gonna have a lot of the horsepower here. That took out, I that moment I thought Elliott was done. Obviously Jimmy's done, Larson is done, Bowman is done, so that's 3 strong Chevys there, and so that looked like a pretty big hit for Chevy and for Hendrick. But Elliott would actually get back going. His car would be massively skewed, which helped with speed down the straights, but it made the car super tight in handling, but he was still fine. He could still race, and so that was interesting for that. But for the big picture, Bowman out of the race, but he did get stage points in the first stage from the previous day. I think he finished 3rd or 2nd, so he got a good amount of points there. And then, unfortunately, didn't get anything out of the second stage and the end of the race. And unfortunately for Jimmy as well, Jimmy was playing teammate to all of his Hendrick guys, trying to help them whenever he can, and wrong place, wrong time. We go to the second wreck. Logano's involved in it again, but this time he's not getting away with it. And what was funny about this, if you were watching it live, I think NBC was riding along with Logano, and then you just heard a bang. Like, it was just like out of nowhere, just a big bang, like a tire went down or something. And then when the camera went out, you saw that it was actually just a massive wreck, and it was Byron getting turned on the bottom lane into Logano, causing another big one, which was pretty bad. Now this one is a little bit more complicated in terms of like how you put blame or what happened. It's because you have to look at multiple cars behind. So you have Byron, you have Kurt, you have Buescher, you have Busch. And so if you look at those 4 cars, it's actually the run that comes from. So Kurt does what he's supposed to do. Kurt gets to the back bumper of Byron and then lifts a little and tries to like gradually get to his bumper and give a soft push. That's what he's trying to do. However, Buescher is pushing from behind because Kyle Busch is pushing from behind. So you have 4 cars basically trying to push. And at that point, it's an accordion effect. Kyle's pushing Chris. Chris has to push Kurt. And Kurt, who's trying to check up a little bit off of William and kind of push him with a soft, gradual push, gets hit from behind. and it hits Byron in the wrong way, sends him to the left, which then gets him hooked to the right as a reason for that. And Logano gets absolutely destroyed out of nowhere, and that is a big wreck. Took out Eric Jones and took out a few good cars there. And so that was another massive wreck that had massive implications on the points, because Alex Bowman was 20 points out at this point, and the two guys that were in front of him were Logano and Byron, and then they both basically get taken out in this wreck. Also helps Chase Elliott as well. But again, no one to blame there. There's no blame. It's just the nature of the pack racing. You get a push, and you know, the only place you can kind of place blame is the Chevy pointed nose. But you know, that's just something that's just how it is when you're pushing that aggressively. You know, the forward bumper is a little bit flat, so you can push a little bit more aggressively. With a Chevy, when it comes to the end of the races, it seems like the Chevy has a little bit more issues trying to push that aggressively, and it might turn someone. So now we go to the third big wreck, which is probably the biggest one, with Brendan Gaughan flipping. But yeah, this is a massive wreck with Kurt. Again, someone off of Kurt's nose. Kyle Busch this time in front of the pack, and everything goes absolutely crazy. A lot of cars wrecked in this. Harvick, Gaughan, Kurt Busch, just Keselowski, a lot of good cars that got taken out here. Kyle Busch as well. And this time it's the same thing. It might be a little bit different depending on air with Stenhouse, because Stenhouse is on the bottom this time. So that air is kind of buffeting against Kyle Busch, and that might be something that helped out. But it's the same car that's behind Kyle that ended up causing the first wreck, and Kurt is doing exactly what he should be doing. He's giving a little bit of a tap, he's giving a gradual push, and it just doesn't go the right way. It just turns off the nose of the car, and that's at the front of the pack. Brendan Gaughan goes flipping. DeBenedetto is involved. He's the one that basically got that car flipped up into the air. Sticks the landing, but that is all that it is for Brendan Gaughan and for many more cars on the back. A little movement from Stenhouse at the end where he just moves a little bit to the right. People are blaming Stenhouse for that, but you guys just have an agenda on Stenhouse at that point. This is just pack racing. Sometimes your car moves by itself. It moves by the air. You don't control it. Most of the time, I think there was a beautiful shot of Logano when he was getting pushed from Clint Bowyer, and you saw how Logano was fighting the wheel so much. He is just reacting. And that's what a lot of these drivers are doing. They are just reacting to where the car goes. They kind of have no control. You know, you're getting pushed like that, and you're just like trying to hold on to the car. So the air itself can just push your car in one direction. It can push it in another direction. You have someone behind you pushing you and controlling your car. So again, there is no blame to go for any of these wrecks. It is just hard, aggressive racing, and then this happens. Like this is becoming normal at plate races. We always joke about the big one, but it's becoming normal where you have multiple big ones, and you get to the end of the race, and it's because most of these wrecks now are just someone gets pushed the wrong way, someone goes off the front bumper of someone the wrong way, or someone throws a block the wrong way, and it keeps escalating these wrecks. So nowhere to blame, just hard racing. And big wrecks, big things, big wrecks. And then the end of the race came down to it. A few good cars left. I would say probably 15 goodish cars around there. And Ryan Blaney was in the lead with a lot of guys just going for their first career wins or people who don't win often. So that was crazy there. And Ryan Newman actually came towards the end with a massive push. And it looked like he was going to be able to get the win. He got a massive push from Denny Hamlin, who was running in the back the whole race and then decided to move up right at the end. And it looked like he could get the win, but Blaney makes a move right at the end. He gets below Newman. He doesn't go below the yellow line. They go side by side to the line, and Blaney edges it out by 7/1000 of a second. And this is what I was talking about earlier in the race. That move happened on the backstretch where Blaney got passed, and he knew in his mind there's no way you're blocking that. If you go to block it, they're either going to go around you or they're going to hit you, and you're going to end up being wrecked. You just can't block a run that big. So he thought ahead and was like, okay, basically when you have a run like that, you have to pick a lane. You can go up top, you can block top and say, all right, I want you to go to the bottom. So you pick your lane. But Blaney knew he wanted to stay on the bottom, and that's where he could get the push from the 10. And so he just let them take the top. and that is thinking ahead. And he was able to side draft the 11, and also Newman getting loose off the front bumper of the 11 as well helped a little bit. But Blaney was able to side draft the 11, and then it left Newman out by himself, and that's when Blaney got the push from behind. And it's really smart, intelligent thinking from that's just a step you have to learn. You know, I would say Blaney's a tiny bit more experienced than Alex Bowman at plate races, and so that's just it. All plate races are. It's all mental. This is why you don't see rookies do well at plate races, because everything is mental. There's no physical, like no one here is a better driver. It's all mental. You are mentally better than other drivers. You're mentally smarter than other drivers to be able to think ahead and be like, okay, I know I can't block that. And by the way, you're thinking about this in the span of milliseconds, half a second, a second. You're going 200 miles. You have to think about this while it's going on. You're getting information in your ear. So that's why this is a skill in itself that is very important to have, and Blaney showed it. So he knew he couldn't block top. He knew he couldn't block that run. We saw Bowman try to block that run earlier in the race, gets wrecked. He knows he can't do it, so he goes to the bottom. He accepts defeat and comes right back in the tri-oval. And he also knew not to go below the yellow line. He had an opportunity to go below the yellow line because he would have been forced, but he wouldn't have won the race that way. So he just doesn't go below the yellow line, says, Newman, if you want to go off my front bumper and wreck, go off my front bumper and wreck. But he was able to side draft him, get him, and got the win. So big congrats to Ryan Blaney. I think it shows just how intelligent of a race car driver he is and how good the Penske guys are at plate races. You know, they have good cars, but they have 3 drivers who are incredibly intelligent and know how to race at these plate tracks. Keselowski, Logano, and Blaney are all aggressive in their own ways, and that's how you win. 2 of them ended up wrecked. 1 wasn't his fault. Logano just was in a bad place, wrong place, wrong time. Same with Keselowski. But in the end, again, another aggressive driver wins a plate race, and that is how you win the plate races. You cannot be passive. You gotta race for yourself and be aggressive. And Blaney did a damn incredible job. So let's quickly go to the point standings before we go to the race results. Reason why I'm going to the point standings right away is because you will see a massive gap in the cutoff line, and it is because Ryan Blaney won. If Ryan Blaney did not win, you would have seen Alex Bowman be on the cut line. Blaney would have been close to it, but he wouldn't. It would be Alex Bowman on the cut line in 8th. With Elliott about 4 points behind, and then Logano would be in 7th. But because of Blaney's win, that changes the cut line massively, puts Bowman and Elliott in a terrible, terrible position. I think they are, because Logano and Keselowski are the 2 guys they have to catch, it is looking like a must-win situation for Alex Bowman and Chase Elliott, unless they run top 3 in stage 1 and stage 2, and Logano and Keselowski have issues, or one of them have issues. So it is looking like must win at Kansas for Bowman and Elliott. They both had speed. Bowman finished 2nd at Kansas in the spring, but it's looking difficult, and it's all because Blaney won. That is the massive, massive change in the points as Ryan Blaney advances. Denny Hamlin is safe. Truex is safe. Kyle Busch is pretty much safe. Kevin Harvick, barring a mechanical failure, is pretty much safe. It is going to be a battle from 7th down to 12th, where Byron, Boyer, Elliott, and Bowman all look like they are in must-win situations. So it's going to be an interesting race. I kind of wish Kansas was a night race. And the reason for that is because, it packs everyone up. You get a little bit closer, more of a pack kind of style race. Entertainment-wise would have been better. But it will be a day race, and I think because of the higher temps and the slicker track, I don't think it's going to be as entertaining. And the cars will not be able to stay together or stay full throttle. So the spring race was a night race, and it was one of my favorite races of the year. And so I was kind of hoping this race would be a night race as well, but they did make it a day race. And so we'll see how that one goes. But massive playoff implications, as they like to say, with Ryan Blaney winning. All right, so your race results. We have Ryan Blaney as your winner, Ryan Newman, Denny Hamlin, Eric Almirola, Michael McDowell, Austin Dillon, Corey LaJoie, Chase Elliott, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Ty Dillon, round out your top 10. Again, it's a plate race, not the normal names you see up there. Fantastic runs by guys just staying out of trouble and going for it there at the final few laps. So good job by McDowell. Good job by LaJoie. Good job by Ty Dillon. Austin Dillon as well. Ryan Newman with the 2nd place finish. So good finish for all of them. Logano fights his way back to 11th, and that's very important for him. He got in that big wreck, was 2 laps down, or 1 lap down actually, got back to the lead lap because of the cautions, and was able to fight his way to 11th. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but 11th and 18th, we're talking since he's on the cutoff line, That's a massive difference. Bowman would only be 11 points back. Elliott would only be 15 points back if Logano sustained more damage in that wreck and wasn't able to get back on the lead lap. So just for, basically, let's look at Logano in that wreck. Let's look. I think someone else that was involved in that wreck was Keselowski. Well, Keselowski was involved in a later wreck, but let's take Keselowski, right? And Keselowski finishes 25th. So that's easily where Logano could have finished. That's a 14-point gap, where it would have basically eliminated his gap in the points. So he got very lucky that when Byron got turned into him, that he didn't sustain more damage and he was able to carry on. Extremely lucky. So good run for him. Chastain, Tift, Castle, and Kligerman round out your top 15. Parker Kligerman was in the wall, and so was Chris Buescher in 20th. They were both in the wall in the final lap in the tri-oval. So they still come out with top 20 finishes. Better finishes they would normally get at a normal racetrack, and they end up with wrecked race cars. So that's just how plate racing works. And then the rest of the race result, a bunch of wrecked race cars and a bunch of wrecked days, all involved in those wrecks. Absolute freaking chaos at Talladega today, and that's what you want. You want your entertainment. This is how it is. It is an absolutely insane race. I think the beginning of the race, it was obviously the manufacturer battle. Hey, Ford versus Chevy with Toyota trying to get involved, and once the wreck started happening, it started to eliminate the manufacturer battle, and everything went out the roof. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit, actually, is the manufacturer battle. We've seen it's becoming more prevalent. Dale Jr. and Jeff Burton have been very against it on broadcast. I am against it as well. I think a lot of fans are against it. It's not fun there are times in the race where you literally will see 4 Chevys pull out of line and go to the lane that wherever the Chevys are. Even if they lose all their spots, they don't care. They just want to get grouped up, and that's not right. Like it causes a very weird style of racing, and it's just not there's a multiple things that are wrong with it. Number one, it's not as entertaining for the fans, but number two, it's not how you win. That's actually like another thing that kind of annoys me, is like these drivers obey it because they kind of have to, but you don't win that way. You have to look at drivers like Logano and Keselowski and Elliott. Like they at times will work with their teammates, but also at times they will make moves for themselves. I'm seeing things in this manufacturer thing where you don't make moves for yourselves. You just always like, oh, where's my friends? Where's my friends? And you have too many friends. You're working with 10, 11 people. It doesn't work like that. You can't win like that. That doesn't put yourself in a good position. So that's what really bothers me with that. And I don't like it. And I hope that NASCAR can talk to the manufacturers and be like, listen, we're okay with you guys working together, but don't have these meetings where you're like, there are rumors that Chevy bosses are threatening action against drivers and teams if they don't work together. It's like, why? That makes the best way you can win is to work with a few amount of drivers, like your teammates, but also to race for yourself. That's how you win these races. That it just is. Like, that's the philosophy to do it. It always has been, no matter what the package is, no matter what race package you want, no matter what it is, no matter what the year is. To win a restrictor plate, or whatever you want to call these races now, a plate race, you be aggressive and you try to go out all out and win these races. And you don't do that by working with 10 other guys, So that's something that I don't understand why that's happening a lot. And it's nothing to do with the package. Don't blame NASCAR. As you guys saw today, when the reins are released on the drivers and they'll all start to race from themselves, it's absolute chaos because they're right on that line of I'm gonna wreck or I'm gonna win, or we gotta get the push in this lane, gotta get the push in that lane. You can tandem, but some cars might not be able to tandem, like the Chevys, and it just becomes chaos and ends up being a great race with a lot of wrecks. So comment down below, let me know what you think of the race. We had a lot of incidents, and overall it was a good race, and we're heading into Kansas with not the closest points battle, to see who gets in, but you have some guys that can win that are on the outside looking in. You have 300 guys, and you have Boyer out there, and then you have Logano and Keselowski on the cutoff line who have to defend for themselves. So it's going to be interesting, the moves that are played, and we'll see how all that goes heading into that race. So I'm hoping for a good one. I'm kind of worried that it's a day race. I prefer it to be night, but we will see how that goes. And we'll see again if anyone has any issues. So it's going to be very interesting. If you guys like the video, make sure to like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Hopefully you enjoyed the Talladega race. And yeah, you can watch her back. There are a lot of wrecks. And glad everyone escaped safe. That's another thing. These cars are hella safe, man. They are crazy safe. Like, you could go head on into the wall. You can flip. You can do many things. And these guys escape perfectly fine. And the reason why you see this intense racing is because of the safety. I mean, you have to understand that these drivers, they kind of feel invincible at this point. As the safer and safer these cars get, these drivers feel more and more invincible. Like, they can just do what you want and you will be fine. So you pull any move that you can to get you to win. And you know, like, these drivers in the back of their minds are starting to kind of believe, like, I'll be safe in this race car. So you just start pulling off moves left and right. And that's how you got to race to win. And the only reason you can do that is because these cars are incredibly safe. So big credit to NASCAR for making these cars hella safe. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So I'll see you guys later. Enjoy the rest of your day. Again, subscribe if you're new. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you're not already. Crazy Talladega race. And yeah, comment down below. Peace out.
Even if I tried, even if I wanted to, and I can't change. Even if I tried, my love, she keeps me warm.